Say the word addiction, and drugs such as alcohol, heroin, and cocaine often come to mind. But other substances like nicotine, marijuana, and prescription pain medications can also be addictive. So can certain activities such as gambling and sex. Whatever the case, addiction involves craving and a loss of control, with the substance use or activity continuing even if it causes harm. This can include problems in relationships, jobs, school, money, or your health. Addiction is not due to weakness or a lack of willpower. Instead, it's a chronic disease involving changes in the brain. There, billions of nerve cells or neurons communicate through a series of signals and chemical messengers. When messages leave one neuron, they attach to a receptor on the receiving one, like a key fitting into a lock. In addiction, this communication process is disrupted. Large amounts of a brain chemical called dopamine are released, overwhelming receptors and resulting in the high that people experience. To keep that feeling going, they take the drug or engage in the behavior again and again. Eventually, the brain changes and adapts, driving them to seek out more just to get the same feeling. That's called tolerance. Stopping a substance can cause withdrawal symptoms such as nausea, tremors, depression, or severe anxiety. Taking too much of a substance or a combination of substances can result in an overdose and serious illness, or even death. Young people are especially vulnerable to addiction. The impulse control center of their brains, known as the prefrontal cortex, isn't fully developed, making them more prone to risky behavior. And using substances can cause lasting harm to their developing brains. If you think your child might be experimenting with substances, talk to them about it. Parents can help by taking a strong stand against substance use and teaching their kids healthier ways to deal with life's stresses. Like any other disease, such as diabetes or asthma, addiction can be successfully treated. So if you or someone you know has a problem with addiction, talk to your doctor, a mental health professional, or an addiction specialist. Getting help may save a life.
Okay, thank you for watching patiently. We will now start our presentation. Good morning, classmates. Good morning, sir. We, the teenagers, are the easiest target of bad vices. We are prone to peer pressure and emotional distress. That's why. And as we seek for some remedy to alleviate the pain, we tend to worsen the situation. And this is when illegal drugs pave their way into our vulnerability. Now, how do we prevent this from happening? What are the factors that affect us? What are the reasons why we need to understand drug addiction? We shall tackle about that in a while, but first, we need to rearrange these jumbled words that we have prepared for you to have an overview of the keywords for this presentation. So, sinong gustong
Oh,
yung
oo nga.
una, go. Go, Mac.
Ah,
Oh, we participate. Nag-raise si Denise, si Princess, and even si Ma.
Mac muna, Mac.
ano diyan, rearrange lang.
Oo, ala ka.
Hindi na next.
May
Oo,
answer na.
sorry guys, hindi pa. May answer na agad, sorry. Ano na lang. Bale, ito yung main topics namin for this presentation. We have hypnotic drugs, we have ecstasy, alcohol, and tobacco. And si LJ po kasi sana yung presenter namin kaso, sorry sir. Next slide na po.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So, before everything, let's differentiate drug abuse and drug addiction first. What comes to your mind when you hear the word drug addiction and drug abuse? Are they the same? Parehas ba sila or magkaiba? Ano nga ba yung pagkakaiba nila? So, drug abuse. It is the use of illegal drugs or use of prescription or over-the-counter drugs for purpose other than they are meant to be used. Parang ito na yung excessive use ng drugs, yung sobrang-sobrang paggamit na ng drugs. So, si drug addiction naman po is simply the effect of drug abuse. Um, Drug addiction is also known as the substance use disorder. So, what causes abuse and addiction? So in here, dito natin malalaman yung mga iba't ibang dahilan kung bakit kadalasan ang isang tao ay nalululong sa mga iba't ibang uri ng mga drugs, especially on those sa mga illegal drugs. So, what makes one person abuse drugs to the point of losing their home, their family, their job, while other does not? There is no one simple reason. Drug abuse and addiction is due to many factors. A powerful force in addiction is the inability to self-soothe or get relief from untreated mental or physical pain. Without the self-resilience and support to handle stress, loneliness, and depression, drugs can be a tempting way to deal with the situation. Ito talaga yung pinaka-main reason kung bakit natitrigger or natitempt sumubok gumamit ng mga illegal drugs. Parang some are using illegal drugs for fun, for excitement, and in order for them to get rid maybe from stress, from depression, at para din takasin yung mga problemang dinadala nila. Sa sobrang gulong-gulo na sila, tapos wala na silang maisip na solution, doon pumapasok si drugs. Especially this person who have a suicidal actions because of depression. Minsan, they use drugs to commit suicide by overdosing themselves. Naiisip nila ito na ito lang yung solusyon para sa problema nila. Ang tanong, nakakatulong ba talaga? Hindi. Pinalalala lang nito ang sitwasyon. So, it can only take a few times or even one time to be on the road to addiction. Some other risk factors include, so eto na yung mga factors. First is the family history of addiction. While the interplay between the genetics and the environment is not entirely clear, if you have a family history of addiction, you are at a higher risk of abusing drugs. If there is someone in your family who have history of addiction, there is a chance na magkaroon kayo ng higher risk of addiction. Maaari mo yung ma-adopt because of genetics. Because these genes can be passed down and may be the reason why family history plays a role in addiction. Next is the history of mental illness. Drug abuse can worsen mental illness or even create new symptoms. Substance use and addiction can contribute to the development of mental illness. Abusing drugs, if you have a history ng mental illness, can worsen the situation. At ang mas malala pa nito, maaari pa itong mag-introduce ng mga new symptoms na maaaring maging dahilan ng hirap sa pag-identify sa sakit na to or reasons behind the illness na nararanasan mo. So, next one is the unphysical pain. Without medical supervision, pain medication or illegal drugs like heroin can rapidly become addictive. So ano nga ba ang heroin? It is a highly addictive analgesic drug derived from morphine or often used illicitly as a narcotic producing euphoria. When we say analgesic po, it is a medicine that can relieve pain. So next is peer pressure. If people around you are doing drugs or using drugs, I should say, it can be difficult to resist the pressure to try them, especially if you are a teenager. Ito yung pinaka-common na factor, especially when you are a teenager. In short, ito yung influence ng mga kaibigan na mahirap tanggihan. Kapag inalok ka, tinanggihan mo, di mawawala yung bagay na kakantsawan ka, na I weak, di mo kaya, ganun. Tapos ikaw naman, susubukan mo na kasi gusto mo na patunayan na hindi ka weak, that kind of circumstances. And minsan din is blina-blackmail ka nila. Then, so, let me end my talk by leaving you a quote. Drugs aren't cool, they make you look like a fool. Get on high grades, not on drugs. That's all for what causes drug abuse and addiction. So, next presenter, please. Thank you.
Signs and symptoms of drug addiction. It is important to know the signs and symptoms of drug addiction. Alcohol or drug addiction changes the way a person looks, acts, and feels. The symptoms of substance use disorders are linked to changes in the body, behavior, and emotions. Next slide, please. Physical symptoms. Common physical signs of drug or alcohol addiction are bloodshot eyes, constricted pupils, and redness. So, anyone who is addicted to heroin, usually nagkakaroon sila ng constructed pupils or yung tinatawag na meiosis. Magkakaroon din sila ng bloodshot eyes or yung mamula-mulang mata. Next is sudden weight loss, decreased appetite, and undernourished. So, dito naman, yung taong addict sa cocaine, ecstasy, or methamphetamine may lose their appetite and subsequently lose their weight quickly. Interrupted sleep patterns, sleeping too long or too little. So, dito papasok yung tinatawag na insomnia and hypersomnia, which is yung insomnia, yun yung hirap sa pagtulog sa gabi, at hypersomnia naman is yung pagtulog ng sobrang haba. Next is change in complexion, acne, pills, skin jaundice, or marks. So, repeated drug use can lead to acne, paleness, and jaundice. Pag sinabing jaundice kasi, ito yung magkakaroon ka ng yellow skin, and also yung white ng mata mo is nagiging yellow din. Magkakaroon din ng scabs, scars, bruises, and track marks sa katawan. And the last one is poor personal hygiene, lack of cleanliness, and personal care. Kahit sa pagligo, pagbrush ng teeth, and physical cleanliness may decline in anyone who is drug dependent. Next slide, please. Psychological symptoms. When someone misuses drugs, they may experience changes in their feelings, which will also affect their behavior. Some common psychological signs include depression and anxiety, noticeable uneasiness or despondency. So mapapansin mo yung signs of depression and anxiety where they never existed before, including sa mahal mo sa buhay na they're losing their interest in things they used to love, sleeping too little or too much, or gaining or losing dramatic amounts of weight. Next is low self-esteem, lack of confidence in their own abilities. Individuals with drug addiction may demonstrate a marked lack of confidence in their abilities, intelligence, looks, or other aspects of their lives. Poor motivation, failure to set or follow through on goals. You may notice that people demonstrating substance misuse symptoms set extravagant goals but have no motivation to achieve them. And the last one is irritability and mood swings, agitation and unpredictable temperament. Another symptoms of drug use can manifest as sudden agitation or yung pagkabalisa and unpredictable temperament. Next presenter, please.
Hanilet, naka-mute ka yata.
Okay na guys? Okay na ba?
Mm-mm.
Okay, good morning now everyone. Now it's my time to discuss the effects of drug abuse and addiction. So we all know that drug abuse affects the person's life in many ways, including health, finances, and stability. So when it comes to health, it can impact almost every organ in the human body. So there are few many ways of how person can take drugs, including the injection drug delivery, inhalation of drug delivery, and the injection. So pag sinabi natin na injection, we know this that it is applied as liquid. Kapag sinabi ng inhalation, it can be spray, mist, or a powder. Pag sinabi naman natin na injection, it is a medicine. But all of these misuse drugs affects especially our brain and our heart. So, paano sa ating respiratory system? So, dito na papasok yung sinabi kong si inhalation of drug delivery na pwedeng mag-cause ng heart condition which has lead to heart attack or stroke. Pag sinabi naman na brain, pag sa ating brain naman, dito papasok si ingestion, siya pagtitake natin ng medicine na pwede tayong ma-overdose which has lead to problems with memory, attention with decision making, which make us daily living more difficult, loss of control, and then especially yung ating behavior. So sa ating finances sa finances naman, we all know that drug is expensive. Hindi mo na iisipin yung halaga ng bagay na ito kasi in drug addiction, alam mo na katawan mo yung makikinabang. So people don't normally plan for these future money problems because they normally plan for becoming addicted. So, waldas ng pera hanggang sa maubusan ka na ng pambili na pwedeng mag-cause sa'yo or sa family mo ng kahirapan. So, and the stability, pag sinabi kasing stability, ito yung tibay. Kung gaano katibay ng katawan mo yung effect ng drugs or hanggang saan kaya ng katawan mo yung effect ng drugs. For example, kakain ako ngayon ng marami, and then after ko kumain ng marami, magti-take ako ng drugs. So, within 2 to 5 days or 2 to 4 days, pwede akong hindi kumain, pwede din akong hindi matulog. Hyper ako, hindi ako nagugutom. But remember, after that 2 to 4 days, dun ka na mag-start na manghihina, dun ka na mag-start na maaantok, and dun ka na start na maghahanap ng maraming pagkain. But this also affects the entire family, friends, colleagues, and even the community. So health, employment, and crime. Heavy drugs use directly affects as well, including lung disease, arthritis, heart problems, brain damage, and death from overdose. Pag sinabi nating arthritis, ito yung sa liver function, yung sa blood vessels infection from injected drugs. So sa problem, employment and crime, productivity at work often suffers and eventually trouble keeping a job or even homeless can occur. So pag sa employment, for example, nagtatrabaho ka sa isang kumpanya and then nagtitake ka ng drugs. So parami siyang pwedeng maapektuhan yung performance mo, na minsan gising ka, minsan tulog ka, yung performance din ng ka-work mo, pwede mo siyang ma-influence, and then yung especially nito is yung sa sa behavior mo na pwedeng mag-cause ng trouble. So sa crime naman, for example sa crime is stealing money to get drugs, hurting your family to get money for you to buy drugs. Yung kaya mo nang makasakit ng family members mo para lang mabigyan ka ng pera para makabili ka ng drugs. Syempre, ang kapal naman ng mukha mo, magte-take ka ng masamang bisyo tas wala kang pang tustos, tas pag nagkasakit ka sa kanila ka pa aasa. Syempre, mali yun. Staying addicted, denial. One of the most powerful effects of drug abuse and addiction is denial. The urge to use is so strong that one of the mind's many ways to rational drug abuse. So, the power of denial in terms of addiction. Denial is powerful copying mechanism to delay facing the truth. Kapag sinabing kasing copying mechanism, for example, sa isang drug user, namatayan siya ng sobrang malapit sa kanya na mahal sa buhay, namatayan siya. Kung makikita natin sa ibang family members, sobrang iniinda nila yung pain, sobrang iniinda nila yung pagkamatay, makikita mo sa kanya na parang madali niya na lang matanggap yung pagkawala, or parang hindi mo makikita sa kanya na yun yung masyado niyang iniinda. Yun yung to delay facing the truth. Next, drug abuse and the family. The effects of someone's struggles with drug addiction stretch far beyond them. Their immediately family also feels the impact when their loved one has a or alcohol problem. Whether it's a child, parent, or spouse, addiction alter the lives of anyone who loves the person. If your loved one has a struggle with addiction, you may understand the negative impacts it can have on a person's life. Siyempre, kapag isa sa family members natin ang nagtitake ng drugs, everyday mo iisipin you how you help him, her to survive, kung ano pa yung kaya mong itulong sa kanya para makaalis na siya sa situation na yon. So, ano bang pwedeng mawala dito? Yung communication to your children will change. Married can end caused by addiction. Your communication to each other will change. Even the respect pwedeng mawala. So, last is the family stress. Copying with a loved one who is struggling with drug addiction is not only stressful but can also be emotionally painful. Intense emotion may run high, which can end up causing conflict and struggle between the family and the person who's addicted. Number one, trust can be lost. So, we need to accept the fact that kapag nagsimula ka na mag-take ng drugs, your relationship with your family, even the friends, pwedeng mawala. We know that in a healthy relationship, trust is very essential. So, hindi natin pwedeng, dapat, yun yung pinaka-importante na hindi mawawala sa atin. So, number two, it impacts the children. So, drug can cause a children to feel emotionally and physically neglected and unsafe. Siyempre, kapag ang isang family, isang parents, kapag nagtitake ng drugs, pwedeng maapektuhan yung anak niya na pwedeng yung anak niya makakaramdam ng unsafe or pwede siyang mag-cause ng depression or anxiety, questioning themselves kung bakit ba yun nangyayari, if sila ba yung may kasalanan, or kung sila ba yung may kasalanan kung bakit nagde-takes yung parents yung kanilang parents ng drugs. So, number three is stress can increase. Worrying about something, not having much of any control, the outcome of a situation, having responsibilities that you're finding overwhelming, not having enough work, activities, or change your life. And financial problems often occur. Addiction cause financial habits becomes expensive. They may not think of the accumulated costs until they find themselves in a tight financial situation. Yun yung sinabi ko kanina na hindi mo na patagal ng patagal, hindi mo iisipin yung halaga ng drugs kasi alam mo na ikaw yung makikinabang. And then, pwedeng nang mag-cause yun sa inyo ng kahirapan. And last, physical and emotional abuse may happen. When thinking about abuse, physical abuse may come to mind first. Sometimes they happen together. Siyempre sa emotional abuse, yun yung pinaka-mauuna. Papasok na yan kung, for example, sisigawan mo yung isang tao or sobrang galit na galit ka sa kanya na pwede nang mag-cause ng physical abuse. Pwede mo na siyang saktan or anything na pwedeng mong gawin sa kanya. So, that's all in effects of drug abuse and addiction. Next presenter, please.
So we have the classification of drugs, which is the prohibited drug and the regulated drug. For the prohibited drug, which includes opium and its active leaf and its derivatives such as the heroin and morphine. What are these prohibited drugs? Well, prohibited drugs are pretty much off limits in the eye of the law. This means that they can't be legally bought or sold. So you will likely see some sort of trouble if you're caught growing, making, distributing, or using prohibited substances. Prohibited drugs can be extremely dangerous and are not medically monitored. These types of substances may include heroin or methamphetamine. What are the effects of using prohibited drugs? One of the most common and dangerous risks of using prohibited drugs is developing an addiction. Addictions may come with changes to the appearance, uncontrollable mood changes, overdose, and even coma or death. The second, which is the regulated drugs, which includes self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, phenobarbital, pentobarbital, barbital, and amobarbital, and any other drug which contains salt of an isomer of amphetamine such as benzedrine or dexedrine, or any drug which produces a physiological action. What are regulated drugs? Regulated drugs, on the other hand, may have potential for dependence. These kinds of drugs can be obtained either over the counter, by prescription, or illegally. This depends on the substance. What are the possible symptoms of regulated drugs when we use it? These substances, even if medically regulated, can increase your risk for different health issues, including several types of cancer, overdose, anxiety, paranoia. What is the difference between this regulated and the prohibited drugs? The main difference between regulated and prohibited drug is that one type is regulated by the government and the other is not. They may also be ranked differently in terms of addictiveness. However, regulated and prohibited drugs can both be extremely dangerous and harmful to several areas of our health or your health. Just because a substance is controlled or even legal, it doesn't necessarily mean you should be using it. That's all. Thank you. Next.
Classification of drugs. Hypnotics are drugs used to induce prolong or improve sleep quality and reduce arousal during sleep. The most commonly used hypnotics includes benzodiazepine, receptor agonist, bisra, antidepressant, antipsychotics, antihistamines, and melatonin or melatonin receptor agonist. What's the effect of hypnotic drugs? Hypnotics are used to treat insomnia. Insomnia is characterized by difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep. Certain hypnotics, such as intermezzo, sulfidam tartrate, can be used for insomnia, which makes it difficult to fall asleep after waking up in the middle of the night. Next slide, please. What are the precautions for treating with sedatives? Start with a low dose and keep it at the lowest effective dose. Avoid continuous use at night. Encourage patients to use them only when they are really needed. If possible, avoid using it for 24 weeks. That's all. Thank you. Next presentation, please.
Ecstasy. Harmful effects of ecstasy. Ecstasy is one of the most dangerous drugs threatening young people today, called MDMA. 3 to 4 methylene dioxymethamphetamine by scientists. It is a synthetic chemical that can be derived from an essential oil of sassafras tree. Ang ecstasy ay kadalasang nasa anyong tableta, ngunit mayroon ding itinuturok at iniinom sa ibang paraan. MDMA is also one of the easiest illegal drugs to obtain. Its effects are similar to those amphetamines and hallucinogens, such as feelings of mental stimulation, decreased anxiety, and enhanced sensory perception. However, as with any street drug, using MDMA also comes with notable risks. Distributed almost everywhere, it has become very popular and at social events like raves, hip-hop parties, concerts, etc. frequented by both adults and youth. Maaaring makalikha ng mapanganib na epekto ang MDMA. Ang tinatawag na ecstasy naman ngayon ay maaaring maraming chemical na sangkap, mula sa LSD, cocaine, heroin, amphetamine at methamphetamine, mula sa lason sa daga caffeine, pampapurga ng aso, at iba pa. Next presenter, please.
Nawala si sir.
Oo nga eh.
Continue lang daw. Kazel, nandito ka ba? Ay, ako na lang yata dito sa part niya kasi nagpa-vaccine daw siya. Okay. Number 3, we have alcohol. An alcohol drink is a drink that contains ethanol, a type of alcohol produced by fermentation of grains, fruits, or other sources of sugar. A drug. So, the consumption of alcohol plays an important social role in many cultures. This birthday, 'di ba nagiinuman pag may binyag, may inuman. Pag kasal, may inuman. Syempre naging part na sa atin 'yan sa as a Filipino na pag may occasion talaga, umiinom tayo. Next slide, please. What are the effects of drinking alcohol? Okay, so firstly, present consumption of alcohol beverages, an individual might eventually develop an addiction. Second, we have heart problems. Too much consumption of alcohol beverages is linked to high blood pressure, as well as irregular heartbeat or even a heart attack. Third, we have worst case scenario. Drinking a lot um, of alcohol in a long time in a single occasion can damage the heart. Okay, so causing problems including pancreatic cancer and can damage the immune system. So very self-explanatory. Ang ibig sabihin lang naman nito, drinking alcohol can be very dangerous to our health. So sa mga mahilig mawalwal dyan or in Ilocano, mga manginom, magbago na kayo. Okay, be better. Cherries. Next slide, please. Okay, how to avoid alcohol. Firstly, do not accompany with alcohol drinkers. If you wish to go with them, you can still avoid by saying no or refusing any offer from them. Pero hindi naman kasi nating may iwasang mag, mag-say no, 'di ba? Kasi naging part na sa ating Filipino yung parang 'di ba marunong tayong makisama, sabi nga ni Sir. And ang gusto lang naman sabihin dito is that alam naman natin sa sarili natin kung nasosobrahan natin. Sabi nga ni Catriona Gray, everything is is good but in moderation. Okay? Set your mind, next one, set your mind that drinking alcohol drinks can damage our health and ruin your life. Kaya na bahal, I mean, buhay niyo yan. Kung gusto niyo ng mas magandang future, might as well choose wisely, 'di ba? And next, always think healthy rather and do not even try because little try turns into a habit. Yun nga, kung ayaw mo talagang i-try, kung ayaw mo talagang ma-addict ka sa isang bagay, wag mo na lang i-try, 'di ba? So yun lang naman. And dagdag ko lang din, did you know that abnormal cravings for alcohol is called this dipsomania. So kapag isa kang manginom ganon, ang tawag sa'yo is dipsomaniac. Yan lang. Next slide please.
What is tobacco? So tobacco is a plant with leaves that have high levels of the addictive chemical nicotine. A plant that can be smoked in pipers and cigarettes. It's the same plant that in smokeless tobacco known as dip, chew, snuff, spit, or chewing tobacco. So tobacco made from the leaves of tobacco plants na nagko-contain ng nicotine, which is yung nicotine is an addictive drug. So meron yung tobacco na smoke through cigarettes at meron din yung mga smokeless tobacco na inunguya or ini-inhale through their nose. So how is tobacco taken? So the great majority of tobacco users smoke cigarettes, inhaling the nicotine-laden smoke. makita.
Why not?
Bakit di ko makita? The great majority of tobacco users smoke cigarettes, inhaling the nicotine-laden smoke into their lungs, while a smaller percentage uses smokeless tobacco in the form of snuff or the chewing tobacco. So mas marami ang nag-use ng tobacco cigarettes than yung mga smokeless tobacco like yung minunguya, ganun yung chewing tobacco. Next slide. Okay. How tobacco damage your body? So, yung mga chemicals na nag-damage sa body natin is first nicotine. So, nicotine can narrow your veins and arteries. This can damage your heart as well and slow your blood to reduce oxygen. And then, second, carbon monoxide. This can deprive your heart of the oxygen it needs to pump blood around your body. Over time, your airways will swell up. And then tar. Tar is a sticky black substance created when chemicals are burned and melt together. So tar can damage your lungs. Pwede kang magka-lung cancer, emphysema, or other lung problems that can make you hard to breathe. Then phenols paralyze and kill the hair-like cells in your airways. And then tiny particles in tobacco smoke irritate your throat and lungs and ghost smokers cough. This can make you produce more mucus and damages lung tissue. And then ammonia and formaldehyde. This can irritate your eyes, nose, and throat. Next slide. So, tobacco harmful effect in your body. So, smoking tobacco can lead cancers in the lungs, mouth, throat, larynx, and esophagus. This can increase heart disease as well, which can lead to stroke or heart attack. So, nicotine depresses the appetite at a time when a woman should be gaining weight, and smoking reduces the ability of the lungs to absorb oxygen. Deprived of nourishment and oxygen, and a fetus may not grow and as much as it should. So, madami talagang nasisira ng tobacco sa katawan natin. Next slide po. So, what is passive smoking? So, passive smoking means breathing in other people's tobacco smoke involuntarily. The smoke deriving from a lit cigarette plus the smoke breathed out by a smoker is called secondhand smoke. So, kapag yung mga non-smokers, nalalanghap yung amoy ng taong naninigarilyo, yun yung tinatawag na passive smoking. So, how does tobacco affect you? So, smoking or chewing tobacco stimulates the habitual user, creating a pleasurable sensation not unlike a high. The effect is generally described as relaxing, although smoking releases the hormone epinephrine, which may create stress in the user. So, next slide po.
Ayan, so before we end this So first dito, we have communication or to communicate. Ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Feelings natin, which is audible ba ako? Hello?
An,
Choppy.
an.
Naririnig na ako?
Oo.
Okay.
Medyo.
Sige.
Choppy.
So,
One.
ulitin ko na lang. So, 5 friendly tips to prevent drug addiction. First, we have communication. Okay? Yung una-una nating dapat gawin, ibig sabihin lang naman yan, we have to look for someone who is trustworthy. 'Di ba? Kasi ang tendency kapag napili natin yung maling tao, nag-open up tayo sa maling tao, pwedeng i-invalidate niya yung feelings natin, which is very dangerous to our health din. So, kapag nakahanap na tayo ng taong pinagkakatiwalaan natin, we have to open up our problems to them. Kailangan nating, para naman ma-express natin yung nararamdaman natin kasi mahirap talagang dinadamdam mag-isa yung mga nararamdaman natin. Because in opening up, you will feel much better. Okay? And second, we have seek therapy. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin ng seek therapy? Simple lang, ibig sabihin yan, magpakonsulta sa mga professionals, mga taong makakatulong sa ating mental health. Okay? Examples of these are psychologists, or guidance counselors, mga addiction, mga professionals na makakatulong. And before we seek therapy, kailangan nating i-accept that we are suffering mental disorder or emotional distress. Kasi we have to be honest with ourselves first. 'Di ba? Bago natin ma-assess kung ano talagang nararamdaman natin. Third, we have maintain a happy and healthy lifestyle. Sabi nga nila, happiness is a choice. And instead of doing things to alleviate the pain, why not just do exercise, 'di ba? Parang libangin mo yung sarili mo, mag-bike ka. For example, sa akin, as a dancer, um, kung nai-stress ako, sumasayaw na lang ako. Trust me, it's very therapeutic. Okay? Maintain a happy lifestyle. Maintain a happy and healthy lifestyle. Next, we have deal with pressure. So, meron kasing iba't ibang pressure yan. First, we have peer pressure. Okay? Sabi nga nila, pag sumama ka sa grupo ng magnanakaw, magnanakaw na din ang tingin ng tao sa'yo. Pero, sabi ko nga kanina, everything is good but in moderation. For example, meron tayong mga friends na alcohol drinkers. 'Di ba? Hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na ayoko, baka sabihan tayong KJ, 'di ba? Pero alam mo naman sa sarili mo kung sumosobra ka na. Alam mo 'yan. And meron naman tayong tinatawag na pressure sa school. And how do we deal with this? Simple lang, time management. Time management, for example ngayon, meron kayong hangout with friends and meron kang deadline bukas. Pwede mo, hatiin mo lang yung oras mo, i-balance mo lang siya. And yung pinaka maganda talaga na gagawin natin is do not compare ourselves with others. Kasi ang tendency, pag kinompare natin yung sarili natin sa iba, nadi-discourage tayo. Nawawala yung parang yung urge natin na mag-aral ng mabuti kasi nandun na tayo sa limelight, which is very wrong. And then, next one, we have look into the past. Anong ibig sabihin naman ng look into the past? Di ba sabi nila, past is past. Pero in this situation kasi, it simply means taking a pause and recalibrate. Di ba? When you say recalibrate, ang synonymous dito is reflect. Kailangan nating mag-reflect sa mga bagay na ginagawa natin. Kung bakit tayo nandito, bakit natin nagawa ito. So these are the 5 friend tips that we can do para ma-avoid natin kahit papano yung drug addiction or any kinds of addiction. First, we have communicate. Second, seek therapy. Third, maintain a happy and healthy lifestyle. Fourth, we have deal with pressure. And number 5, look into the past. So That would be all. I would like to thank everyone for listening and sorry na kung may mga technical difficulties. And before we end this presentation, this has been Group 2 saying, mas mabuti na
Mas
maadik
mabuti
sa
nang
maling
maadik sa
tao
maling tao
kesa
kaysa
sa maling
naman
gamot.
maling
Thank
gamot.
you.